Oh, well. Well.
Silence.
My mother-in-law, Betty, reacted for a moment but quickly walked away from the room. Was she ignoring me on purpose? But there was no point in overthinking it. I waited in the waiting room until the reception was ready.
Now, let's begin the reception.
With the host's voice, I entered with Josh. Many people came to the reception, making it quite lively. However, among the cheerful crowd, there was one person who seemed out of place. That was Betty. The moment our eyes met, Betty stood up from her seat, and I instinctively followed her. Betty, is something wrong?
Why did you decide to get married?
The sudden question caught me off guard, but I had only one answer. Because I love him.
Thank you. And that's exactly why I want you to divorce him.
What? The moment I heard her reason, a chill ran down my spine. But at the same time, I made up my mind. I immediately went to the courthouse to prepare the divorce papers and left the venue. My name is Mary, a 28-year-old designer. After graduating from design school, I worked for a design company for 5 years to hone my skills. At 25, I became independent and started working as a freelance designer. Now, I work tirelessly without any days off, but my days are fulfilling.
Hello? Can I come over today?
I have a lot of work to deliver today. Can you wait until around 4 p.m.? I should be done.
Got it. I'll get ready and wait for you.
His name is Josh, a man my age and my boyfriend. We met through our mutual friend, and after Josh confessed his feelings, we started dating. It's been a year now.
Here, a gift for our 1-year anniversaries.
A bouquet of roses. They're beautiful. Thank you.
This is all I could manage, but I'm glad you like it.
For our 1-year anniversary, Josh surprised me with a bouquet of flowers, and I was deeply moved. Embarrassingly, the men I had dated in the past were not the kind of people you could admire. Some cheated on me and left, while others got physically aggressive when angry. Because of that, I truly felt grateful to be with someone like Josh, who cares so much about me. However, even Josh has his issues. Don't you have a shift today? Didn't you usually work on Fridays?
Actually, I got fired. I wasn't picking up enough shifts. Well, it's not something I can fix right now, so I'm not too worried.
Wait, are you serious? Josh dreams of making it big as an actor. In the meantime, he's been working part-time jobs to make ends meet. Of course, I don't want to criticize someone's life choices. Josh's life is his to decide. However, with us nearing 30 and considering marriage, his situation isn't just his issue anymore. Have you thought about getting a stable job?
Not at all. I still have my dream. There are people who make it big even later in life, and I don't want to give up.
I understand Josh's perspective, but we can't keep chasing dreams forever. Is he serious about marrying me, or does he just see me as convenient? These vague worries had been building up lately. Then one day,
Hey, can I move into your place next month? I can't renew my lease on the apartment I'm in now.
what? Is there a problem with your apartment?
Not exactly a problem, but I can't afford the rent anymore. So, let me move in with you. I'll help out with the housework.
Helping with housework isn't the issue here, and Josh's apartment rent is only $400 a month. It's odd that someone nearing 30 can't afford that as an adult. Chasing a dream of becoming an actor as a freelancer is fine, but causing trouble for others isn't right. Does he not understand that? I've been meaning to say this for a while, but shouldn't you think more seriously about your future? At your age, it's time to grow up.
You don't have to say it like that, okay? I'm doing my best in my own way.
That's not the point. Josh needs to face reality a little more. That's not what I mean.
I've been thinking about marriage. Living with you means that's the direction I'm heading in.
I was planning to lecture him, but the word marriage made my heart skip a beat and left me speechless. Of course, Josh may not be the most responsible adult, but I love him, and hearing the word marriage shook me. It was the word I had been waiting for.
If we get married, and if you want me to work a full-time job, I'll do it. Because living with you is more important to me than my dream.
Josh.
I may seem like I'm living a careless life, but I'm serious about this.
After talking things through, we decided to get married, with the agreement that Josh would find a job if he wasn't successful as an actor by the time he turned 30. I never thought I'd find a life partner under these circumstances, but Josh showed his determination to change, and I accepted him as he was. From now on, I felt that we could build a life together by supporting each other. However, just 1 month into living together, I started to feel uneasy about our future. Oh, are you heading out? Work?
No, I've got an audition. After that, I'll practice acting and grab dinner with friends before coming home.
I see. Before living together, I didn't know much about Josh's daily life. I assumed he attended auditions and practiced acting, but what shocked me the most was his spending habits. Since I had always paid for our dates, I hadn't noticed, but he spent quite a lot of money socializing with his friends.
Oh no, looks like I'm short on cash today. Can you spot me a little?
I just gave you $500 the other day, didn't I?
Yeah, but I spent it all on the acting retreat in Aspen. Just $100 for today, please.
Whether the acting retreat was just a trip in disguise, I don't know. But Josh had borrowed $500 from me just last week. He hasn't paid me the money yet, but he's going to borrow it from me again. Even though we were engaged, it felt like he was taking advantage of me. If you don't have money, then live within your means. Why are you assuming you can just borrow more?
We're getting married, aren't we? Why are you being so strict? It's not like I'm wasting it.
I felt a bit exasperated. If he was genuinely trying, I wanted to support him wholeheartedly. But to me, it looked like he was just playing around. Just remember, this is a loan. You'll have to pay me back once you start working.
Got it.
With that, Josh took the $100 bill from me and left the house. I sighed involuntarily, but there was no point in dwelling on it. I had plenty of design work left to do, so I shifted my focus back to work. Even after that, Josh kept borrowing money without listening to me. When I refused to lend him money, he would borrow from elsewhere, fall behind on repayments, and I would end up covering the debt. I didn't want my soon-to-be husband to end up on a blacklist, so I reluctantly continued providing financial support. Before I knew it, 6 months had passed. My work had gotten so busy that I hadn't had time to plan the wedding. I'm sorry. I've been so busy with work lately that I haven't been able to talk about our wedding. Have you found a good venue yet?
Yeah, it's pretty expensive, but I found a great venue.
Since deciding to marry Josh, we had discussed the wedding many times. He wasn't particularly interested in having a wedding and thought getting legally married was enough. However, having a wedding in a pure white dress had always been my dream.
How about this venue? I think it's just what you wanted, Mary.
It really is.
All right, I'll leave the detailed planning to you.
Fortunately, as a freelance designer, I've been getting plenty of work requests and have been incredibly busy lately. So, I had asked Josh to look for a venue for us. He found the perfect place for my dream wedding, and between work, I spent days in meetings. After about 6 months of discussions, we finally came up with a wedding plan we were happy with. I finished up my work and even started dieting to prepare for our big day. 3 months later, the long-awaited wedding day arrived. I'm so excited.
Yeah,
I was ecstatic about the wedding I had dreamed of for so long. But Josh's reaction was lukewarm at best. While many of my friends and colleagues attended, Josh only invited a few close friends. Of course, I was still happy to have even a small number of guests. And so, the wedding began.
Now, the bride enters.
We had spent a considerable amount of money on the wedding. As a designer, I paid attention to every detail, creating a space that felt like a dream come true. After the ceremony concluded, preparations for the reception began. Then,
what are they setting up for?
the reception, of course. You know that, right?
Oh, really? I thought it was over. This is kind of a drag.
Sure, I was the one who had strongly wanted the wedding, but he didn't have to be so negative. Doesn't he have the desire to enjoy this once-in-a-lifetime wedding? That's unnecessary. Don't say weird things on such an important day.
I never wanted a wedding reception in the first place. I'll say whatever I want.
With that, Josh headed to the restroom, leaving me to let out a big sigh. I knew he could be self-centered, but I never expected him to ruin even our wedding day with his attitude. However, there was no point in dwelling on it, so I headed off to change outfits. As I approached the dressing room, I saw Betty standing outside. Oh, Betty.
Silent.
When I called out to her, she reacted for a moment but quickly walked away. Since she reacted to my voice, did she intentionally ignore me? We had met once before during our marriage introduction, but we weren't particularly close. I wondered if calling her Betty had been the wrong thing to do. But overthinking wouldn't solve anything. I decided not to let it bother me and waited in the dressing room until the reception was ready.
Let's begin the reception.
With a host announcement, I entered with Josh. Many people attended the reception, creating a lively atmosphere. But there was one person who didn't seem happy. It was Betty. She had ignored me earlier, and was she upset about something? Well, did I do something to upset you? Maybe I shouldn't have been so direct, but I couldn't help myself. Why was Betty ignoring me? I couldn't recall doing anything that might have upset her. That's why it felt so strange. It was our wedding day, and I wanted Betty to enjoy it as well.
I'm just going to the restroom. Isn't it about time for you to change outfits?
With that, Betty left the venue. Just then, it was time for my outfit change, so I decided to step out of the venue as well. I had a feeling Betty's behavior was her way of signaling me to follow her. With that thought, I headed toward Betty. Betty, is something wrong?
I have something I need to tell you.
Betty, who had been ignoring me until now, finally spoke up. The seriousness on her face made me feel a bit tense. Yes,
I love my only son, Josh, and I want him to be happy. That's why I never said anything about him still being a freelancer.
Betty looked straight into my eyes. Was she about to ask me to accept Josh staying a freelancer forever? I understood her love for her only son. From what Josh had told me, his parents were divorced, and he grew up in a single-parent household. That must have made the bond between Betty and Josh even stronger. However, no matter how much Betty cared, I didn't want her interfering in our married life. I understand that, but once we're married, I really need him to work properly for his own good.
Thank you. I know you care about Josh. That's why I want you to divorce him.
What? I was so shocked that I couldn't say anything. What was Betty talking about? My mind couldn't process it. What do you mean? I don't understand at all.
He's cheating on you, and he has a child with the other woman.
No way. I was stunned. My mind went completely blank. Josh has a child. I can't believe it. To me, it seemed like Betty was lying because she didn't want to lose her only son, Josh. Please stop with the strange jokes. This is our wedding day.
I have proof.
With those words, she showed me a photo. They were messages between her and Josh. The account used was Josh's, and it was Josh himself who reported the pregnancy. This can't be true.
It's all true. He said he'd send her $2,000 a month if she kept quiet. But I can't stay silent about this.
Betty began to cry as she spoke. I now understood Josh's scheme and everything happening behind the scenes. At that moment, my connection with Josh snapped entirely. I immediately asked Betty to go to the courthouse. Of course, I couldn't go out wearing my wedding dress. I'm sorry to ask you to do this, Betty, but could you?
Of course, this is the least I can do to take responsibility.
Betty ran to the courthouse for me. Fortunately, the courthouse was nearby, so Betty returned in about 15 minutes, and I had already changed from my wedding dress into casual clothes. I quickly completed filling out the divorce papers after that. Thank you. Here, I've signed it as well.
Thanks. I'll hold on to this. Leave the rest to me.
All right, please handle it. I'll call you when I get home, so we can talk then. Then, I left the venue. I never imagined Josh had been cheating, let alone that the other woman was pregnant. He had always valued our time together, showing no signs of anything unusual. But I wasn't going to let him fool me anymore. I hurried back to my house for the time being. It took about 30 minutes. In total, I had been away from the venue for about 45 minutes. Naturally, Josh thought something was strange and tried to contact me. When I ignored both his calls and emails, he left me a voicemail message.
Hey, I don't know where you went, but hurry up and get back here.
Instead of expressing concern about not being able to reach me, Josh left an angry, shouting message. I was beyond exasperated, but at this point, I couldn't care less. So, I continued to ignore him. By the time I realized it, 2 hours had passed since I got home, and Josh had called over 50 times. Just as I was starting to think it might be time to answer the phone, I received a call from Betty. Josh had likely realized I wouldn't answer his calls and decided to use Betty's phone instead. Hello?
Where the hell are you, and what are you doing?
Josh started yelling the moment I picked up, but I stayed silent without responding. Betty then stepped in to calm him down and took over the call.
People at the venue are starting to get confused.
All right, I'll handle it. Leaving everything unresolved would be irresponsible. I had a duty to explain the situation to the guests who had come to the reception. I asked Betty to connect my video call to the venue's screen. Everyone, thank you so much for coming today. I sincerely apologize for leaving so suddenly. With Betty's help, I spoke to the attendees via video call, apologizing through the screen. I could see everyone's reactions, and the venue was buzzing with confusion as no one seemed to understand what was happening. It was only natural. Most people had no idea what was going on. Let me get straight to the point. I'm divorcing Josh. I've already left the divorce papers at the venue. The moment I said that, the murmurs in the venue grew louder, and Josh looked completely stunned. He clearly had no idea what was happening. He probably never imagined the bride would leave in the middle of the reception. Amid the chaos, Betty was the only one who remained calm.
What the hell are you thinking? This is too much, even for a bad joke. You're disrespecting everyone who came here.
This isn't a joke. I'm divorcing you. Do you have a problem with that?
You?
Unlike my earlier apology, my tone was now low and filled with anger as I spoke to Josh. The murmurs in the venue didn't die down. First, I needed everyone to hear the truth. Let me explain why I'm divorcing him. The reason is that he's been seeing someone else, and he has a child with her.
What?
The moment I said that, the commotion in the venue escalated dramatically. No one here likely knew that Josh had a child. Many were shocked by the unexpected revelation. I was deceived all the way up to the wedding day, but now that I know the truth, I can't continue this. I want Josh to prioritize his child and the child's mother.
Wait, you've got it all wrong. There's no way I have a kid.
The moment Josh said that, he turned his gaze toward Betty. He probably never imagined that Betty would reveal the truth to me. Josh had told Betty about the child 6 months ago when the pregnancy was discovered, asking her to keep it a secret. For the past 6 months, Betty had kept silent. Josh likely never thought the truth would come to light. Denying it is pointless. I have evidence. As I said this, Betty suddenly stood up. She slowly stepped onto the stage and began to speak.
First of all, I deeply apologize for the trouble my son has caused. What Mary is saying is true, and here is the proof.
With those words, Betty displayed her exchanges with Josh on the venue screen. The screen displayed my video call with Betty, making it easy to show everyone at the venue the exchange where Josh revealed the existence of his child.
This is the conversation when Josh informed me about the pregnancy. Despite knowing everything, he proposed marriage, motivated by money. Even the woman carrying his child has agreed to this arrangement.
Betty explained everything and backed it up by showing all the messages between her and Josh. Initially filled with murmurs, the venue fell silent as everyone became engrossed in the footage on the screen, leaving an unusual atmosphere lingering in the room afterward. After presenting the evidence, Betty spoke again.
When my son told me about this, I was torn about what to do. As his mother, I want him to be happy, but at the same time, I cannot stand by and allow him to deceive someone innocent.
Her voice began to tremble as she spoke. She must have had mixed emotions, even though she found the courage to speak out. If I were in her position, I'm not sure I could have done the same as Betty. As a parent, you want your child to be happy no matter what. Betty was no exception. Yet, she had summoned the courage to act for my sake, and I was deeply grateful. Thank you so much, Betty. If you hadn't told me, I would have married a traitor.
Hey, wait a second. This is...
How are you going to explain this now? All the evidence is out there. It's impossible to deny it anymore. I cut Josh off before he could respond. I had no intention of listening to any excuses. Josh had betrayed me. This is something that can never be forgiven. At the very least, I have absolutely no intention of forgiving Josh.
Let me explain. There's a deeper reason behind all this.
You got your mistress pregnant and planned to marry me for money. What kind of excuse could possibly justify that? Nothing you did is defensible. I could see the attendees' reactions through the video call. I could see the expressions of many people turning to anger. It was clear evidence that no one was on Josh's side.
That's, well,
Why don't you just admit it already? Apologize for what you've done. Isn't that the bare minimum as an adult?
What do you even take people for?
As Josh continued to deny everything, the attendees began to grow visibly angry. However, Josh likely understood that admitting the truth would worsen his position. He desperately tried to smooth things over.
no, you've got it all wrong. She's my ex, and the child isn't mine. It's someone she was dating. I was just giving her advice or something.
His desperate lie was transparent, and I was utterly fed up. Even the person who had yelled earlier sighed at this point. However, while most people were disappointed in Josh, one person raised their voice.
Enough is enough. Stop making pathetic excuses. Apologize right now.
The one who spoke up was none other than Betty. Earlier, she had used a microphone to amplify her soft voice, so no one expected her to shout like this. But it seemed Betty had reached her limit.
How can you not own up to what you've done? Apologize immediately.
Betty's heartfelt plea finally made Josh realize the gravity of his situation. Reluctantly, he apologized to the attendees.
I deeply apologize for everything.
You're apologizing to the wrong person.
Mary, I'm sorry.
Despite my face being displayed on the large screen, Josh couldn't bring himself to look at me. Of course, I had no intention of accepting his apology, but I didn't want to inconvenience the attendees any further. I also apologized to everyone for involving them in this mess, and the wedding was officially canceled. Later, I reached out to each attendee to personally apologize. About a week after the wedding. Since that day, Josh had been living at his family home, and the three of us, Josh, Betty, and I, sat down to talk.
I'm sorry.
Do you really think an apology is enough? No matter what you say, I'm not forgiving you. Josh apologized as soon as the conversation began, but I had no intention of forgiving him. I wasn't sure what he was expecting, but I knew about the child he had with his mistress. No matter how things turned out, I wasn't staying married to him. Here's the settlement amount we agreed on with my lawyer. It includes the cost of the wedding.
Wait a minute. $50,000? There's no way I can pay that. And since we're already legally married, I'm not agreeing to a divorce.
I didn't expect him to accept it easily, but I was still taken aback by his reaction. Either he didn't understand the severity of his actions, or he wasn't remorseful at all. Are you even reflecting on what you've done? How can you say something like that?
Reflecting? I didn't betray you. Even after the pregnancy was revealed, I chose to stay with you.
For someone who clearly didn't see me as more than a financial opportunity, he had the audacity to say that. I couldn't help but be amazed by his nerve. I really need to explain to you why that's a betrayal. Divorce is non-negotiable. If you don't accept the settlement and the divorce, we'll take it to court.
Are you serious right now?
Of course I'm serious. And I'll also be filing a claim for damages against your mistress. I'm your legal spouse, so don't forget that I'm the one in the stronger position here. I looked Josh straight in the eye as I said this. He fell silent, desperately trying to think of a way out. However, at this point, it doesn't matter what Josh thinks. No matter what conditions he proposes, I have no intention of accepting them. Those are my terms. Contact my lawyer if you have any questions.
Wait. I'll do anything, whatever it takes. I'll accept the divorce. But please don't ask me for the settlement.
I knew Josh didn't have the financial means to pay, given that he wasn't even employed full-time. But no matter the circumstances, his actions weren't excusable, and my stance wouldn't change. The same applied to his mistress. Being pregnant or not, that doesn't matter. Taking accountability for your actions is a basic principle of adulthood. Enough already. I don't have time to entertain your ridiculous requests, and my decision isn't changing.
You have no right to ask for anything. All you can do is apologize and reflect on what you've done.
Betty also reprimanded him, and Josh collapsed onto the floor. He must have realized there was no way to reverse the situation. After that, I left his family home and had my lawyer proceed with the settlement claim. Thanks to Betty and the lawyer's efforts, the divorce papers that had been on hold with Josh were submitted. I was officially no longer tied to Josh. Another month later, I received a bank transfer and a call from Betty.
Hello? The transfer is complete. Can you check it?
I checked it. Thank you so much for everything. The settlement I had requested from Josh had been properly transferred, and I felt somewhat relieved. I had worried he might skip out on the payment altogether, so it was a relief to see it come through. Betty must have ensured Josh followed through. I'm so sorry for putting you through such a difficult task and causing you trouble, but I truly appreciate your help.
What Josh did, it's my responsibility as his mother too. But more than anything, I wanted you to be happy, Mary. I couldn't forgive him for deceiving someone as kind as you.
It made me wonder how someone like Josh could have come from someone as kind and strong as Betty. Betty's character was so admirable that it left me baffled. Without Betty, I likely would have gone through with the marriage and spent my life tied to Josh. Unaware of the truth, I had been giving money to Josh and wasting my time on something meaningless. To stop that from happening, Betty stood by me, even at the cost of pushing her own son into financial and emotional hardship. And for that, I am deeply grateful. I'm working in design. If you ever need anything, please don't hesitate to reach out. And maybe we can go out for a meal sometime? I'd love to maintain my connection with you, Betty.
Thank you. I'll never forget you.
With that, Betty hung up. I was a bit worried that this whole ordeal might take a toll on Betty's mental health, and I felt I had placed a heavy burden on her. But it didn't seem like I needed to worry, which left me feeling relieved. After that, I decided to leave thoughts of Josh behind and began cleaning my surroundings to move forward. I chose to move out of this apartment filled with memories of Josh to make a fresh start. I heard that Betty had cut ties with Josh after everything. She now lives modestly on her pension and savings, and I plan to invite her out for a meal soon. As for Josh, I heard he remarried the mistress after everything. However, he couldn't find a full-time job and now lives with her on part-time wages. Because I demanded settlement payments from both of them, their financial situation is dire. They've sent their child to live with the mistress's parents and only send money for support every month. Their life is financially strained, with their child not by their side and nothing to bring them joy. With debts to repay and ongoing child support payments, only a bleak future lies ahead for them. As for me, I've started my own design company and now work with 5 employees. Though work keeps me busy, I feel fulfilled every day. There are people like Josh in the world who are self-centered and incapable of understanding others' feelings. Spending time on such people is pointless, and it's best to cut ties with them as soon as possible. I want to use this experience to cherish my life moving forward, to surround myself with people who value me, and to ensure that I can create my own happiness.